Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another update. So today we're going to be taking a little bit of a revisit once again to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the world of unemployment. Now, a little bit of a huge heads up just to maybe start is that everything that we are going to be talking about in today's video is pretty much going to be very focused about things happening on a very state level. We probably will maybe end this by just talking about what's been going on with unemployment federally, but it's definitely going to be a very state-focused video, so definitely just a little bit of a heads up. So with that being said, we're just going to get started right on the spot. But as always, real fast, before we begin, consider smashing the like button if you guys hopefully enjoy videos like this, or you guys can decide at the very end, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for just videos similar to this. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, maybe personal thoughts about anything. It's always great to say hi to new and familiar faces. So with that being said, let's get this video started. So the first state that we're really going to talk about is really going to be about the state of New Jersey. So the story right now is that over there, they recently just released a bill, very recently. And what this exactly is that it's a bill focused on unemployment, but specifically about a couple goals. The first is really about improving the actual unemployment systems in general. So if you guys remember how a lot of people were running through like unemployment difficulties, whether this is with customer service, speed, servers, tech, ID checks, this bill is hoping to try to now upgrade those systems to make it better. Now, there is also one other interesting side to this, which is what they're also hoping to do is to try to get a lot of the government employees to come back to work. And the biggest motivation is that what they really want to do is that there were a lot of people that were on unemployment, and this actually applies to a lot of states actually, but just in this case we're talking about New Jersey. And it's that there were a lot of people that were on unemployment, but just a whole bunch of various reasons actually ended up falling out of the unemployment system or were actually underpaid. So as a result, they were actually owed a lot of money, potentially backlogged. So what this new bill is meant to do is first is to upgrade the system as just mentioned. The second is to try to get a lot of the workers in the government workforce to come back. So in a way, it's not just meant to help unemployment, but also to get people employed. And probably the part that's very more relatable to us is that they're hoping to try to now take a lot of the money that was already owed to a lot of people, but just for reasons were delayed, and then try to retroactive and backlog a lot of the payments to finally now deliver to the people that were pretty much owed money, but are still to this day waiting. So the idea is that, part of it is for people into the future, and then the other side of it is actually to help people that previously were unemployed, but now they can hopefully finally now receive their payments. So I think that's still really great news, certainly for people that were on unemployment like most of us for the last year, but also of course for the future generations of unemployment going forward into the future. So that's pretty much the state of New Jersey. Now, the next state that we're really going to talk about is going to be in the state of Georgia. So Georgia, interestingly, also has another new bill that recently popped up, but their bill is interestingly also to try to get people back onto unemployment, but it essentially revolves around everything related to the vaccine mandates. So they are now one of the brand new states that are now proposing a bill. And what they want to do is that they're creating a policy so that anybody that loses work for anything related to the vaccine, so whether it's because they didn't want to get the vaccine, or they were required but just didn't feel like getting the vaccine, or maybe they were not allowed to get the vaccine for things like religious, health related reasons that some people just, actually physically just maybe cannot get it, or maybe it's just too much of a risk to be able to get it. So what this is that for anybody, the idea is that loses work for anything related to the vaccine, whether it's new employment or current employees, they can now go back to the unemployment program. So in a lot of ways, it's really great news, because it means that now it acts as a little bit of an extension for people that lose work there to now jump back on and continue unemployment once again. I do believe maybe one thing that's also new about this policy is that they're also interestingly trying to do it retroactively. So that is actually something that's new. So how this essentially works is that if, let's say, for example, you ended up losing work for vaccine-related reasons 2 months ago, but now that you're hearing about this program you're applying for today, then what it means is that they'll be able to retroactive the payments, so you can actually get the unemployment as if from when you actually did lose your job from back then until the actual future date, and then just pretty much continue it on as if you were already on the unemployment system the entire time. Now, the really great news is that even though Georgia is the first, well, is the brand new state that we're talking about, there are actually a lot of other states that are either already doing this right now, so it's already an approved program, which is the really great news, and a lot of other states that are also now not fully official yet, but they're actually very, very much contemplating on it. So in a lot of ways, it really varies across state to state. For example, I do know from one of the last updates, just as a very, very quick recap right here, is that the states I believe that right now are doing this are pretty much in Arkansas, Florida, Iowa, Kansas, and Tennessee. They pretty much are ones that are actually already physically doing it. There are a couple states that are speculated to potentially want to try to, so they're trying to do it, but it's not necessarily official yet, is going to be in Virginia, Indiana, New Hampshire, and Arizona, and then of course most recently in Georgia. So that is, there's definitely a lot of progress that's being made. Now, the rest of this video, I just want to talk about how unemployment is doing, really, just collectively as just a country. Because obviously now we know that there's still, programs in about, I think we just listed about 10 to 20 states. So that is a lot of people. But it's to really maybe start is that the new unemployment numbers did recently come out right here. And they did ended up finding out that in the last week, so basically the last week of February, because, we're in the first week of March, if you're watching on release date, 215,000 people filed for unemployment or are claiming unemployment that specific week, which is now officially a decline by about 18,000 people, or about 7.7%. So essentially the previous week, or the week before the previous week, we had about 233,000, I think that should be the right math, 233,000 people claiming unemployment, and now we've now declined that into having it so that about 215,000 people are claiming unemployment. And as always is that I do think it's important to notice that these are people that are actively claiming, so they don't include people that are unemployed but just not included in the count. Now, how many people that is, it really is a mystery right now at this time. So maybe feel free to comment if you guys have any speculated ideas, because it really is a mystery. So nobody really knows, because it hasn't really been released to the public yet. And I mean, the whole reason why it hasn't been released to the public is exactly for the reason as stated, is because they're just not counted in the numbers. So we don't actually have the exact number of people for those particular people who are accounted for, because that's the whole reason of everything happening. Now, when it comes to just maybe talking about unemployment collectively, so the story is that I know a lot of people want to know what's been going on as a big country, and really what it is that right now, because there are so many other things that they are working on, such as, like, as you guys know about the Russian-Ukraine situation, things related to like Build Back Better. Build Back Better is even on a pause right now, but definitely child tax credit. We made a video about that, about like a new program, stimulus program that's going on for families. I'll definitely put that at the end screen. It'll probably be at the end. I'll try to put it on this side. If not, it's going to be on this side, but it's going to be in the lower part. There's a lot of programs that are right there. But when it comes to unemployment, the story is that because of the last couple of weeks, we've started to see a lot of decline in the unemployment numbers. The hard news maybe to just share and take in is that it is not likely right now that they're going to try to do any unemployment program on a very federal level. It is relatively probable, and the reason why I say it's relatively probable is because every state is going to be very, very different with the unemployment rates. But I would say it's a relatively more likely, certainly than on a federal level, that they may be trying to do very specialized programs for unemployment in every single individual state or certain groups of people, which we already start to see now. So for example, like through state programs, vaccine mandates, employee-related compensation. So what this is that it's programs for people not necessarily, for the, but what it is that it's essentially, it's a program that some places are doing in order to try to encourage people to go back to work, but it's basically something that's funded by the government themselves. So it's kind of like the back to work bonuses, but it's kind of more of an extension of that, an even more specific niche version of that. But I think, again, the idea, most importantly, is it's money that goes inside of people's pockets. And I think that's the most important thing that we really, really care about. But I think overall, the really, really big idea is that because they are already starting to see a lot of people recover, even though I do notice there's obviously a lot of people that are still struggling, especially because a lot of the struggle is happening behind the scenes, which means that there are things that are never really voiced out because, again, they're happening on a very lower key level. But I think at this point is that because a lot of people now have actually started to go back to work, that the really, really best bet is that we can try to get onto these unemployment programs, but it might actually legitimately be time to maybe look into trying to find some kind of employment, even if it has to be on a very, very part-time level. This is actually especially true because if you do actually manage to get onto a lot of these new specific unemployment programs, as long as you don't hit the hour threshold, which I believe it varies on state, but it's typically about 30 hours, technically, if you are able to go back to these unemployment programs and also find a job, it's actually very, very probable that you can actually technically continue working your job if you do end up finding, work, and also collecting unemployment at the same time. Because keep in mind that unemployment is not always just for people that are out of work, but even for people that are underemployed. So maybe they're working, but they're not working the full 40-hour threshold. They can potentially now also be able to get onto this. But the big idea is that at least there's things happening, and hopefully there's a new chapter to start given everything that's been happening. But really beyond this is that that's pretty much what I wanted to share in today's update. So hopefully, if you guys found that relatively insightful, maybe consider smashing the like button if you guys haven't. Of course, you guys can always decide, but it is really greatly appreciated. Consider subscribing. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, personal thoughts about anything. So if you guys made it to this end, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe, stay well, stay strong. We're just, getting through, best wishes, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.